How's it going, everybody? This is the Figuring It Out Finance podcast, and welcome back for another episode. I am Chris Rickenbaugh, and I'm your host as always. This is episode number 33 with another book of the week, book breakdown, and this week it's The Wealthy Way by Ryan Pineda. So this was I kind of got locked into Ryan Pineda through I believe it was the Better Life podcast, and then he showed up again on Brian Lubin's podcast, and then I started going down the rabbit hole of, what he's all about. So I read his first book, Flip Your Future, while I was going through my first flip, and he had a couple of really cool points in there, and then I found out through his company, he's got another book called The Wealthy Way, which I read. So before I jump into that, follow me on all the socials. So Instagram, TikTok, where you can find me at figuringitoutfinance.com. Keep listening to the podcast and go check out figuringitoutfinance.com, where you can keep up to date with everything that I'm doing as I'm looking for my next flip right now. Today, actually, it just went on the market. So really cool stuff and big stuff coming. So today's book review, like I said, is going to be The Wealthy Way by Ryan Pineda, and I'm just going to open up with one of the quotes that I heard from him that I really like. So the quote is, "Ultimately, it is you who decides whether the place that you end up happens to you or happens through you." So I think a lot of people go through life not really feeling like they're in control. They either feel like they have to go to college, and then they feel like they have to go get this job that they end up in for a couple years, and then when they're 40 and 50, they're just feeling unfulfilled. They're not doing the things they want to do, and life happened to them. So that's the way I kind of felt going through college. Something felt a little bit weird. I didn't feel like I was getting a lot from it at Lenore-Rhine in Hickory, North Carolina. And then it kind of clicked after I started reading about my junior year. I started reading the self-development books as well as the real estate and the investing books, and the mindset really, really changed through there. So Mark Manson's books did a lot for me as well on the big mindset shift. And, it was kind of off from there. So I feel like life is going to kind of go through me at this point. I worked 2 jobs, both low paying, and then this last job, it just wasn't working out. So leaving a low paying sales job to where I'm going to profit on this flip as much as I was going to make on that entire salary at that job. So, doing one deal, being able to buy it within 10 days or having under contract for 10 days, and then a 16-day flip, and then putting it on the market in just about a month. So, that's what I'm doing. So looking for the next deal. I think we got a couple duplexes down in Charlotte that we're going to be looking at next. So that'll be a little bit bigger numbers, and always looking for something a little bit smaller or really anything right now. So go back to the book here. Ultimately, it is you who decides whether the place that you end up happens to you or through you. So I love that quote, and that's what this book is all about. So The Wealthy Way, wealth is kind of defined by Ryan Pineda is that it's every aspect of your life and not just money and income. Because the money leads to time freedom, but what happens in that time freedom? What are you doing? And he breaks down wealth by the letter in his book, and that's his business as well. I've done a lot of listening to him. So the first one in wealth is going to be worship. So serving, volunteering, and spending time growing your faith in God. Ryan's a very religious guy, so that's something that really, really drives him, and that's part of his group, is that you need to be serving and volunteering to be able to live the wealthy way. That's what you should be doing. You should be looking to serve people. You should be volunteering. He does a lot of volunteering at church, and then spending time growing your faith in God. So very Christian and very interesting way of looking at things. So I definitely recommend reading the book if you're a Christian or looking in that sort of direction. But he really centers that around centers the entire book around that. So, it's very, very religious, and it was just a cool perspective to be able to look through, because that's not an area that I really, I guess, think about too much, but really being able to listen to him, listen to Brandon Turner when they really dive into it and what they think about, it really goes towards, what having that wealth and giving back looks like and feels like and why they do it. And it's, driven me a little bit more to think harder about that. So it's not just one-sided. So that's the W, and then the E is next. So that is education. And so improving your mind through reading, events, coaching, and courses. So education is so huge in this game, because if you're not growing and evolving, then what are you doing? You're just staying in the same place. So you should always be looking to grow your mindset. So maybe you put down the real estate books and pick up business books. Maybe you pick up a spiritual book. Maybe it's a management book. Trying to be well-rounded and trying to educate yourself in all those different aspects. So something in my life right now where I'm getting into a little bit more of the social media, it's like I'm starting to find all these little things that are on TikTok and Instagram that I'm using, and it's actually boosting my content. So one of the little things on TikTok and Instagram is putting in the location. I'm like, I didn't want to put in my location. They don't need to know where I'm coming from. But as soon as I did that on TikTok, it boosted my views at least 400 on every single video. So, and then using a little bit different hashtags, so I posted about Hawaii, put in the hashtag Hawaii, and it showed up on some different pages. I've had some Charlotte accounts reach out to me. So being able to educate myself on that, listening to a different podcast here and there. But what you should be doing, all you're doing through that is improving your mind. So reading, like I said, the events, going to some different events. I'm going to one later this year. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. I'll try and find it here. It is the Life Surge. So that was a new one that kind of popped up, and I saw Tim Tebow and Ed Milet were going to talk, and so I just said, all right, screw it. I'm signing up for it. So that'll be a really interesting one to go see, because it's not just going to be about business, but it's going to be about faith and religion a little bit as well. And then coaching. So you need to be spending money on coaches, but you need to be spending money on the right coach. So finding those mentors and that are able to grow your mindset and really challenge you. And then courses. So that was something that I'm starting to look for. I signed up for something a little bit, or this week actually. It was about growing or making income through products. And I thought, well, I don't know how much I'll get out of this, but I might as well take it. Turns out I didn't really get that much to it. It was more like use your Instagram to drive to your website and sell. It was like there was no step-by-step action, no real in-depth information there. But I'm glad I took it. Because if there was something in there that could have made me $1,000, then I would have missed out on that. So, looking at some different routes. So that's education. Always make sure you're improving your mind through reading, events, coaching, and courses. And then affluence is next. So that one doesn't really stick out as a normal word, but what Ryan means in here by affluence is your financial situation with income, investments, and businesses. So this is where wealth normally is thought about through your income and your money. So you need to be growing that your financial situation by increasing your income and then investing, as well as growing your businesses, because businesses employ people. That is a point of a business. It may make you money and give you something to do, but the overall goal of a business is to create jobs, not just to make you money, because that's what the government rewards you off of, is the businesses supplying jobs. So affluence is a big part of the wealth because that's normally what people think about in the money. So lifestyle is next in the wealth and your way of life with hours worked, vacations, and time management. So how are you enjoying your life? If you're working those 80-hour weeks, you're really not wealthy unless you're just choosing to do it. So there might be, who I worked with at my last company, they were putting in all those hours and they would take a vacation, but the thing on their vacation, they were still working. It's like, how is that the wealthy lifestyle, So being able to, Ryan really talks about in some of his podcasts is he goes into the office and leaves by 5. He really makes that time for his family. He really keeps track of the hours he worked with his kids, and then he has great time management. When things start to pick up or he's launching something new, he knows he has to allocate more time and communicate with his family. But he makes time for his family. So the lifestyle choice and wealth is really interesting because that's something that I'm starting to feel as well. And he talks about not having to grind in those 80-hour days because, he's designed his life around this. And he said he's willing to make less money to be able to live this way. And then he still makes a ton of money. So lifestyle is a huge important part of being wealthy. Because if you're working those 80-hour days, chained to a desk, you might be making $1 million, but if you don't have the lifestyle you want, where you can take time off and have the vacations and enjoy life, then what are you really doing? So team is another big part of this. That's the T in wealth. Relationships, he defines this as relationships with your friends, family, coworkers, and social media followers. So starting with the friends and family, that is your team. So that's something that I haven't really dove into yet. I don't have a family quite yet, but having that team around you to be able to support you. So my girlfriend really, really supports me in everything that I'm doing because it's like I'm 24 and I don't have a normal W-2 job. So to everybody else, I've been told that's scary. My parents are freaking out. Family are freaking out. Like, I don't know what he's doing out there. But to have somebody at your back and saying, hey, go for it, that's what you want. So they are part of your team, your friends and family. So you really have to watch out on who's supporting you, who's not. You can still be friends and family with them, but you may not have to be able to take their advice. So look for those people that are supporting you because that's what's going to drive you when things really get tough down the road. So your coworkers, you have to... that's your team. So if you're in a normal W-2 job, your coworkers, you're working with them to be able to grow that business and do your job as well as you can. And then something different if you're in a business, your social media followers. So how are you getting people to interact with your content? Because that's your team. They're telling you what you should be posting, and in return, you end up making the money that moves into your lifestyle and that's part of the education. You're giving the social media followers what they want. That's why they're following you. They're not just saying, hey, this is a cool guy. They're your team because they're the ones who are making you money at the end of the day. So if you're not supporting them and they're not supporting you, then it's not a win-win situation. So health is the last one in this, and I think that's really huge because Ryan defines the health part of wealth is everything to do with your body, including workouts, diets, and hobbies. So that's something, really, really huge because if you're just working, you're not doing that. If you have to be able to keep your body in peak physical shape, not peak physical shape, but, just in good health, because if you're making $1 million and you're not working those 80-hour days and you're just lounging around on the couch, like, what are you doing for yourself? You're hurting yourself and your health at the end of the day. So you need to be maybe not working out intensely, but you need to be keeping your body in good physical shape and making sure your diet isn't full of donuts and pizza and soda and beer. You need to make sure you're, supporting your body the way it needs to be supported with healthy vegetables, meats. If you're vegan, do your thing. I don't really understand it. And then you have to have your hobbies on the side. So that's golf for me. Some people like woodworking. That was my dad's thing. Some people like to garden, basically to get your mind off of normal day-to-day work and something that you can enjoy and that maybe doesn't have to be high intensity, has to drive you, has to make money, but it's just something that you enjoy outside of normal work. So that was the basic overall part of The Wealthy Way. I wouldn't say it was a huge game changer for me, but I really did like the book because it was a different way of looking at things. I'm used to reading all these self-help or the self-improvement books and the investing and real estate books, and this had a little bit in it, but it really dove into the other parts of your life that I don't really think about all the time. So definitely an interesting view, and I love starting to listen to his podcast as well. And I think it's not the Ryan Pineda podcast, but it's the Wealthy Way podcast, I believe. But he's had some really good people on there like Ed Milet and Pace Morby and Brandon Turner. So really, really cool interviews out there. So I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll be back again on Friday with breaking down kind of where I'm at in my game and in life right now. So I appreciate you tuning in, and this is Chris Rickenbaugh signing off for the Figuring It Out Finance podcast. We'll see you on the next one.